Welcome to the Terminal Value Podcast. I have Craig Carter on the line, and Craig has the auspicious notoriety of being my former boss when I worked at Intel. But that's actually not what we're here to talk about today. What we are here to talk about is Craig's life passion, which is running a faith-based organization within the Intel network. And in particular, what I'd like to talk about today is that, of course, the political environment's crazy right now, and you're trying to really stick to your mission of a faith-based organization while navigating that political environment. Craig, welcome, and thank you for your time.
Well, thanks, Doug. It's good to be here.
So just tell us some of the experiences you've been having, because of course, right, there's, it's interesting how what happens in the media is you only see the crazy people on the media. You don't ever see, hey, these are normal people wanting to help people get through the travails of their life that they feel like they can't talk to anybody about. That's not interesting. So nobody posts articles about that. That's probably
True.
99% of what you do. But of course, the things you're going to hear are somebody who makes some sort of horrendously offensive racial remark, and people say that's so terrible, and it's like, well, okay, yes, it is terrible, but it's not representative of everybody who's of a particular faith. You
No,
you must
true.
have been dealing with this, Craig. Actually, I
No,
know you've been
true.
dealing with it because we've been talking.
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
feeding you a softball question.
We've been talking a lot over the years. So let me maybe give a quick recap, and that could kind of walk into this, and then we can take it from there, Doug.
Hmm.
So I've been involved with the different Christian
Yeah,
groups here at Intel for probably 2 decades or so, and then just even what was it
you
about
don't look
almost
anywhere near
exactly?
that old, Craig. No,
Well,
I'm just
thanks,
I'm
Doug.
just
Thanks.
I'm just kidding
Another
with you. You
beautiful
you 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 look
question.
you look every year that old.
Thanks. As I look at you through my progressive lenses here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And yeah. So I paint the gray on there just to look a little older.
Yeah, I do the
So
same thing.
been doing this for like 20 years, and it's been really neat. And then this last fall felt led to reach out to people of other faiths and to get to know these other leaders of the Baha'i faith, Muslim faith, Hindu faith. I mean, you name it, these different groups that also have formal employee resource groups, ERGs they're called, at a big company like Intel, and getting to know all of them. And it's been excellent. I thought they wouldn't even want to talk with me or meet with me, but as we've built up relationships and gotten to know each other more, 90% of what we're trying to do is really going the same way, including even the atheist group, is that there's very passionate people that have a certain faith or a certain belief. And how can a large company give these people space to feel like they're included, that they're valued, that they're important? And do we agree on every matter of faith? Of course we don't. Of course we don't. But can we really still be good friends and that kind of stuff? Absolutely. And as we've started to develop these friendships and even doing things together, I developed a really strong friendship with a buddy named Hadi. He's the president
Okay.
of the Muslim group here in Arizona. And do you think that a Christian and a Muslim have some things where they think differently on? Absolutely. But can we be really good friends? Can we support each other? Absolutely. And
There's no
then
reason not.
well, stating the obvious, yeah. And the neat thing is, I feel like this has almost become a platform as we look at our very toxic political environment where people won't even talk to each other or anything else. And I'm like, all right, you think there's a bit of a separation between the two political parties? Yeah. But that's nothing compared to different religious groups, which for thousands of years have bickered, have fought, have killed each other. And yet we can get along, but we can agree to disagree and we can dialogue. And as you dialogue and get to know what other people really believe, frankly, my respect for them just goes up more as I get to
Yeah,
understand what people of different faith traditions believe.
and
So there.
absolutely. Well, because one of the things I'm fond of saying is that just because I believe something doesn't mean that I think you have to believe that. And it sounds simple
Yes.
when you say it that way, but it's remarkable how few people think that way.
Very few people do. And it's been wonderful to use actually this platform of religion to get people to really think about that. If these different people of religious faiths can agree to disagree, but still do tons of stuff together and try to make the world a better place and help each other find the freedom to practice their belief system. Again, everything from atheism to the Baha'i faith to the Christian faith, Muslim faith, Sikh faith. It's been really neat.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Well, and because I think that there was another thing that you touched on there that I thought was really interesting too. Because of course there's you can say agree to disagree, or as I would say, it's just that, okay, if just because I think a certain way doesn't mean that you have to think a certain way. But the other thing that I've really been, or that's really been in my mind lately, is that everybody talks about things at a national scale or a global scale or a this scale or that scale. But when you get down to local and it's people having conversations, generally
Yes,
speaking, most people locally are pretty friendly. And so
they
it's
are.
it's actually kind of funny how like when you actually get people having conversations, they tend to generally be friendly, but for some reason when you get them on opposite sides of a camera on CNN or Fox News, they suddenly turn into snarling tigers. It's like, okay, maybe
You're
we
right.
just
You're
need to
right.
have more local interaction and less media interaction.
No, you're absolutely right, Doug. And you bring up a great point is that categorization of people is just horrible.
Oh,
It's just horrible.
absolutely terrible.
And yes, are there generalizations that are generally true at times? Yeah. But categorizing people is awful, awful. I mean, there's only one Doug in the world,
Thank
thankfully.
God.
But yes, well, yeah, there are exceptions, but there's only one, right? I mean, basically painting these pictures of putting people into different, how they look or what their religious beliefs are, socioeconomic level, where they grew up, what language they speak, da, 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 da. I mean, everyone is absolutely unique, but the second we start categorizing people, it's a downward spiral. And
Absolutely.
a tangent story on that. I was at the mall a year or so ago in the same spot where they have Santa Claus, Christmas, right? And but at this time it was not Christmas time. They actually had basically something on the Holocaust and
Oh,
genocide. I mean, very different than Santa and
wow.
Christmas.
I am
And
rather
yeah,
surprised by that.
exactly the same area. And basically I don't remember the rest of it. It's like 7 steps to committing genocide. And the first step was categorization of people, dehumanizing people. And as I look at our society, especially politically, that's exactly what's happening. Now, hopefully we won't go to the
Yeah.
7th step,
Yeah, exactly
but
right.
no, we don't want to go there.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
But but something else that you had brought up, Doug, is how do we support people and love people and help people and stuff. And in my years involved with the Christian group and now with the other faiths and stuff, but speaking to the Christian group, it's opened up amazing doors for me just to love on people. And often it's when they're in their deepest, darkest moments. There's a guy on our team who
yeah.
is this close to committing suicide,
Ooh.
actually. And yet it was a friend at work who said, whoa,
Yeah.
stop. God loves you. Don't go there. And so there's that. There's people that have lost children, and this is someone you actually know
Yeah.
that we used to work with who lost her beloved son a number of years ago over in
Uh-huh.
Penang. I was able to pray with her
Hmm.
and just to be with her
Yeah.
through this whole journey up until his death. And about a month ago, got to pray with a lady who just lost her mom in a very
Oh, that's
weird COVID time. And again, this is at the most intimate, most wonderful, not wonderful, challenging moments in a person's life, but you're there just to show love and express love to them. And were these people of the same faith background as me? Most of them not. But was I able to show love, human interaction in a very wonderful way? Absolutely. And I'm thankful that Intel and lots of other companies actually are realizing that. It's not just rhetoric, but letting people bring their full self to work or be authentic, which part I don't like those terms because it'd be some politically correct kind of things. But the reality is that they are really good terms and bringing your whole self to work, which includes a person's faith
mhm.
and loving people. And that shouldn't scare people. And to your point, Doug, I mean, the one anomaly, right? It's funny, my 20 years of involvement at a large 100,000 person corporation, I've heard of instance, one instance where there's anomaly, and then in further investigation, this person wasn't even involved in the Christian group and never had been involved in the Christian group, but HR thought they were and asked me, how could this person be involved? And nope, they're in Folsom, California, never heard of the person. No one, the Folsom leaders never had either. There's been zero instance where someone just went ballistic and calling people names and stuff. And yet most companies get very scared of faith and very scared of religion and strongly held beliefs, but it's changing, which is really cool.
Well, and I think there's something you tagged on there, Craig, which I think is worth a conversation because I think the way that I think about faith is more in these strongly held beliefs. And I think the marker that I say for it is what is the thing that you keep talking about, even when somebody is making very clear social cues that
They don't want to
they
hear
don't want
about.
to hear anymore, and you ignore them and keep talking. Whatever that is, that's your faith. So in your case, it is your Christian faith. In some of my other friends' cases, it is their political beliefs. In one of my
Yeah.
other friends' cases, it is real estate investing. But whatever you ignore people's social cues to keep talking about, that is your faith.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, and there's a lobbyist I know who, no surprise, is really into
Lot of
politics.
surprises,
Oh,
politics.
surprising. And they just feel beat the heck up because they're a minority in where they work on their political views. And to them, it is their religion, almost, on this. And they
Which is
feel
funny
beat up.
because if you're
Yeah.
talking lobbying, you can be of either political view and very easily be a minority because there are just as many lobbyists on the left as the right.
Yes, exactly. It's very interesting. But you're absolutely right. It's almost like we need more freedom of belief where people don't, like what you had said. We don't. I mean, it's ridiculous to think. I mean, my wife and I do not think the same. I'm sure your wife and you do not believe all the same things. We all know who's right. It's your wife,
Yeah,
like
well,
my wife is,
clearly.
of course. But we don't believe the same things. But do we get along? Yes.
You've
Most of
been
the
married
time,
25 years, Craig. I'm glad to see
yes.
you picked something up along the way.
Yes, most of the time we get along very well, but do we have a deep love and care for each other? Absolutely. And that's where I feel like we need to go is in the corporate world and other things is that we can get along most of the time and we can agree that yeah, we have some different belief systems. But as you start to try to listen to that other person's belief system, likely there'll be less red flags, less things that you think are not that good
Yeah.
as you really hear their heart as they express what's on their mind and what they believe. Most people are pretty rational and they got to that place due to either some circumstance that happened in their past
Hmm.
or and some belief they have and it's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and because yeah, and that's another one of my my little sayings that I've started to adopt it is that I really believe that real life happens locally. Everybody
Yeah,
likes to watch the national and global media and make a big harumph out of this or that, but reality is local.
it is.
Reality, it's your neighborhood, your community, your city.
It is.
When you get past that, it's just voices on a radio or pictures on TV. It's not real. What
No,
happens real is what happens close to you. And generally
no.
speaking, people who are close to each other and interact with each other tend to get along.
No, they really do. And these people that you're mentioning, whether it be in the media or even politics or even the corporate world and stuff too, what are they trying to sell? And usually they're trying to stir the pot of dissension and
Well, they're trying to
disunity.
sell advertising. And
Yeah, they're trying
anything
to
you
sell.
watch on any channel is
Absolutely.
trying to sell advertising.
Absolutely. They're trying to sell advertising, they're trying to win votes,
Yeah,
they're trying to sell you something. So,
yeah,
careful, caution, caution.
right.
And there's a human tendency, like all of us, to exaggerate a little bit to help get your point across. But of course, we've seen that it's well beyond just a little bit of exaggeration
Yeah,
usually.
the one of my favorite T-shirts I saw, and my daughter's inherited this trait. Is well, I've been known to employ hyperbole on a number of occasions, but it said "Exaggerators Anonymous, a trillion strong and growing."
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in that. A lot of truth in that. A lot of truth in that.
I love that one.
It's
So,
good.
all right. Well, hey, so Craig, where can people go to find out more? So, do you have a website? Is there any resources we can share with people? Because I
But
think that what hopefully we're helping people to understand is that the notion of faith doesn't have to be constrained to a religion. It's really about your personal beliefs, and it's really personal and doesn't have to create different differentiation or separation between people. It can actually bring people together, even if your faith is different.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when I say the word faith, I'm thinking more of the religious perspective, including the belief there is no God, atheism or agnosticism and that kind of stuff, right? Which again, if you throw those two together, that's called the human race.
Yeah.
You're in one of those camps. I mean, you have to be if you're human, right? You have well, but to your point, some deeply held beliefs, whether it be political or maybe the way a family should be run, or and recently we've even seen different racial related things. It's
Yeah.
just these passionate beliefs of people, right? Um, so I can't point people in all directions on that. Now there is called the World
Fair
Wide
enough.
Web, but warning, warning, what you see there.
Yeah.
But as of this fall, there's an organization I've gotten involved with. It's called the Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, and that's
Okay.
targeted more towards, again, no surprise, religion, faith, atheist beliefs. Which again,
Sure.
that doesn't incorporate the whole human race. I actually have a flyer back here somewhere. I'll flash that up since we're on
There we
video.
go.
But I went to a conference. I never heard of these guys until they did a big spiel at the United
Uh-huh.
Nations. The United Nations
Okay. Religious
president
Freedom
was
and Business
there.
Foundation, just like you
Yeah,
said.
just I know I actually got it right because that is a mouthful. And their big thing is freedom. It's not of any
Okay.
one faith. It's not Baha'i. It's not Hindu. It's not Christian. It's basically people of all beliefs, including the belief
Yeah.
there is no God. Um, to listen, to encourage each other to express their opinions, their beliefs, to get to know each other,
Hmm.
to drop the walls down is
Yeah.
it's been eye-opening for me as I've got to know these people from different religious backgrounds of, again, way more in common than different. And getting to know the relationships, and guess what? We have the same kind of marital issues, and and help each other, support each
Yeah.
other, or our kids, they're driving us crazy, or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, or
exactly.
our jobs, and
Yeah, the exactly as the husbands of all faiths say things that are really dumb to their wives and get in trouble. What wives of all
always.
faiths, have husbands they just can't understand how they're so insensitive all the time.
Yes, that is a good
That
generalization
is a
usually.
that
Yes,
is
absolutely.
a
Yeah.
remarkably accurate
It's
generalization.
remarkably accurate. Again, as I think of every couple I've known around the world, pretty
Yeah,
much that would hold true.
just
But
about
anyways,
every single
moving
one.
past
Yes,
that,
moving past that.
so Religious Freedom and Business Foundation, look up their website. They've done the most amazing thing they did was December 8th. Again, I
Yeah.
remember the 8th because it's wedding anniversary for us, not that month, but a different month. But they had a conference on this, and you would never, ever guess what country or what region of the world.
Uh,
Bahrain, Middle
oh,
East, on freedom of
interesting.
religion in
Wow.
business. I would have, again, bet $1 million and lost $1
Wow.
million. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bahrain. And they had at this conference, you name it, the religious group category, and they were all there and talking about how in business, they've got to get people to get along, right?
Hmm.
And because you
Yes.
don't really make money if everyone's fighting.
No,
And
you
I was
don't.
like, you really don't. And I was like, what a role model in Bahrain of all places. And yet I feel like in the US, obviously there's other countries around the world too that hesitate. They're scared of religion or faith. And no,
No, it's
don't be.
yeah, and well, and that's the thing. Yeah, it doesn't have to be anything you're afraid of. Especially if you come into it with the idea that hey, just because I'm religious, I happen to also be religious myself, doesn't mean that I think you have to be. I mean, I would
Correct.
love it if you were. I'd love to talk about it, but if that's not your thing, it doesn't have to be your thing.
Doesn't have to be your thing. And also I've learned too, listen to people that have strongly held beliefs against religion and against
Yes.
maybe a
Yeah.
religious group, because as I've listened more and empathized, they've had some often horrible backgrounds where
Yeah.
they've been abused, they've been picked on, they've been this and that, which again, if that would have happened to me,
Yeah.
I would have been
Yeah.
tempted to have those same, dislikes of religious groups too. But by empathizing and listening, it gets across that barrier.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Craig, I really appreciate your time today, and
Thanks,
yeah,
Doug.
everybody have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, let's all be nice to each other.
Tell me. Yes, even people in Oregon and Arizona can
Even
get
people
along
in
just great.
Oregon
And
and
you and I
Arizona.
are witness of that.
Yeah, or, yes, yeah. Even though Arizona's all brown,
You just have to rub that in, don't you? Just
just
have
got
to
a
rub it
little bit
in.
of salt. There we go.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you, Doug, for the time.
Thank you,
Bye
Craig.
bye.
So, following up after that conversation with Craig, one of the things that really stuck in my mind is the importance of thinking about the idea of faith in a broader context. A lot of times it is basically thought of as synonymous with religion, but I don't think that that's really accurate. Faith is really fundamentally about belief. And there are some people where their faith is largely religious, some people where their faith is in something else, but really a lot of times people's faith or belief is in whatever they're passionate about. And I think that when you think about things in a broader context, actually really helps us to relate with people a lot more and see that we really are a lot more alike than we are different, as some of the old sayings go. This is one of the things that I think about too. With when people traditionally would talk about a quote faith-based organization, that typically that means a religious organization. But I actually think about a faith-based organization as more of a purpose-driven organization, which in a lot of ways describes most organizations. And actually, that's a little segue into what I'm here to do, which is actually to help organizations meet their purpose. Because of course my business is in expense reduction consulting, and I do this on contingency. So that means that there's no upfront cost for anybody. If I can't find you savings, I won't bill you anything. And I would love to tell you about it. Just go book some time on my calendar at www.meetdoug.biz. That is meetdoug.biz. I'm looking forward to meeting with you and hearing about your company or your organization, and seeing if we can do some work together. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you for listening to the Terminal Value Podcast. Share it with your friends by sending them to terminalvaluepodcast.com. For more information, please visit businessoflifellc.com for full access to Doug's products and services.
All rights reserved. No part of this broadcast may be produced in any form by any means without written permission from Business of Life, LLC. All trademarks and brands referred to herein are the property of their respective owners.